Oh, hello. Today we're going to talk about what kill teams people are interested in, and we've got some interesting data to look at that will inform us, that will answer this question for us a little bit. So we've got a data set here. Now, this was shared in my Discord by Albert Cortez, the guy behind Kill Team Battle Kit, which I'd done a review video on before. And I asked him, I said, "Oh, this is really interesting. Can I make a video about it?" And he said, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'll send you a high res version. This is a high res version of the data." And what that is, if you remember my review of Kill Team Battle Kit, or if you use Kill Team Battle Kit yourself, you'll know that there are rules for the teams are, they're on separate web pages. And what he's able to do, he's able to see how popular different pages are. So these 5 columns, you've got what he calls the racial page, which is like the team composition rules and the any kind of overarching special rules that the teams have. He's got a page with deploys, a page with the different operatives on, a page with the TAC ops on, and a page with the equipment on. And the numbers, so at the bottom are the most popular teams, right, ordered by visits to the operatives page, I believe, and at the top are the least popular teams. And I think this is really interesting because it shows, tournament data's great, right? And there's loads of people that talk about the tournament data, and you can talk about wins and losses, and you talk about who brought what and pick rate and all the rest of it. But there's a lag on that, right? Because when you go into a tournament, you've done the hobbying part. Right, you've built the team, you've painted it up, you've got your little display base going, you've done all that stuff ready to go, and then you attend the tournament, and so there's a lag. This is quite interesting because at least for people that use BattleKit, it shows you what teams people are interested in, what rules they're looking up. I think that's really fascinating. Now, obviously, you can't necessarily draw conclusions from this to the whole of the Kill Team playing community. There will be people out there that don't use Kill Team Battle Kit. There are other websites available, right? And some people like to use the books, the cards, the official app, the PDFs, whatever else it is. So maybe it excludes those casual players. And by casual, I basically mean the ones that aren't chronically online and don't know all about these sort of third-party websites. But I think it's really interesting nonetheless, and I've got some more slides where I've picked out some interesting bits of data, but I just think let's just look at it in the round first so we can see Angels of Death are the most popular kill team that people are most interested in. Then we've got Legionaries, Commandos, Nemesis Claw, Tempestus, Vespid, Deathcore, Hierotek, the Phobos, the Warp Coven, the Corsairs, the Brood Brothers, the Hernkin, the Scouts, the Kazakin, the Blooded, the Mandrakes, Inquisitorial Agents, Felgor Ravagers, Void Dancer, Hand of the Archon, Euclidean Starstrider, Blades of Cain, Novies, Farstriders, Hearthkin, Hunter Clade, Exaction Squad, Pathfinders, Navy Breachers, Galapox, Wormblade, and Chaos Cult. So, most popular team in terms of people looking up the rules. Angels of Death, least popular looks to be the Chaos Cult. So first I wanted to talk about the meta leaders. You can't throw a rock around Kill Team YouTube at the moment without hitting a video. I've talked about it myself on hobby streams. People talking about Marines and how Marines are currently really overpowered. So if you are, dipping your toe into the Kill Team discourse, and you're like, well, what teams do I want to look at? And everyone is shouting Marines, 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 And if you're going to a tournament and you want to do okay, and not even, and you want to win, right? That's not where this story ends. But everybody's saying, like, oh, if you're not playing Marines and you're playing into Marines, you're not going to have fun. That's really the message. So people are looking at these Marine teams because, they want to play the game. They want to enjoy each episode of playing a game. Therefore, they're going to want to play Marines. It's not about people. This isn't about people net listing and going, I've got to win. I've got to play the strongest thing. People are being told, if you listen to Glass Half Dead, if you listen to Turning Point Tactics, if anybody really, people are being told, look, if you're not playing Marines, you're going to have a rough time. So there's no surprise to me that the Marines are in the top third, right? But what's interesting is, again, if you look at all these online commentators, most people agree Legionaries and Warp Coven are the top of the tree. Legionaries are commonly regarded as the best team, Warp Coven commonly regarded as the second best team. And yet we see a difference, don't we, when we look at the Marine teams people are interested in. So Legionaries are the second most, just the team that people are second most interested in. They are beaten by Angels of Death. Imperial Space Marines are... there's a big statue of a Space Marine outside Warhammer World. Space Marines just have this star power. There's a massive group of people out there who just really love Imperial Space Marines, and I have to say the Imperial part, because there are people out there that if, they don't care for Chaos Space Marines, but if they can play actual Imperial Space Marines, that's something they really want to do. So when they hear that, Imperial Space Marines are pretty good, they might not be the best, second best, third best, but they're probably the fourth best team in the game, at least right at the moment. That's going to get a lot of people interested, a lot of people looking at Space Marines. And then we got Legionaries, which is the one everyone has tipped as being the best team in second place. Fair enough. But Warp Coven are in last place out of the Marine teams. And that's interesting, and it comes back to something I've said a lot, something I've made a whole video on in the previous edition, something that I think is often understated when people are, with a very mechanical focus, talking about the best teams. The hobby affects the meta. Teams that are a pain in the bum to build and paint and collect, you are going to see less of those in the meta. I don't think it's because people are looking at the Warp Coven rules and going, Warp Coven, I don't think they're everything they're cracked up to be. I don't think people are looking at it and going, Ryan Slater is wrong, Warp Coven are weedy. People are looking at it and going, my God, I don't want to have to buy 2 boxes of stuff and then spend 100 million years painting trim. That's the actual issue here, right? People don't fancy the Warp Coven because it's investing a lot of money and more money than average, more time than average on a team that we know is only going to be classified for a year, right? So I think that people, when they're talking about the meta, they should factor that in a little bit more, because people aren't necessarily just going to play the teams that people are talking up. People definitely weigh that in, right? But you have this mix. You have this mix of the two things intersecting, right? Don't you? The hobby ability of the teams intersecting with the teams that are being talked up as being powerful, and that's really interesting to me. Now you can make the same argument about Angels of Death and say, but Phil, they're at the top and they're quite difficult to buy. You need a box of Intercessors, a box of Assault Intercessors, and you need to pick up the Strike Force Justian guys. It's yeah. Space Marines are different though. Somehow when you start playing any kind of Warhammer, you just sort of weirdly have thousands of points of Space Marines, because Games Workshop throws Space Marines at you all the time in starter sets, in launch boxes, in the part works, right? The Imperium magazine. People just end up with Space Marines. So I guess it's one of those things where, it's kind of hard, but people can cobble them together really easily. So I thought that was interesting. Just the placement of the meta leaders and the pretty big gap between the sort of nearly 20,000 people visiting the Angels of Death operatives with, less than 6,500 people visiting the Warp Coven operatives page, I thought was interesting. And difficult buys. So just to lead on to what I was saying before, what I've done here is I've highlighted all the teams that are a pain in the ass for one reason or another to actually buy, right? Because you can't just go and buy a single box. All the other teams that I haven't highlighted have, or will soon have anyway, a single box that you can buy and you get a playable version of this team. Even Euclidean Star Striders are not getting a kill team box, but you can buy the complete kill team off the shelf as a 40k box. But if you look at it, Chaos Cult, you need 3 boxes. Wormblade, you need a box, and then you need at least 2 quite expensive characters. Gellerpox Infected you just can't buy. Like, you have to literally proxy them. So it's really not that surprising to me that these three teams are at the very bottom of people's interest, right? And that's not because Gellerpox Infected are no good, or Wormblade are no good, or Chaos Cult are no good. I don't think they're amazing. I've not played them, but like, just from synthesizing other people's like reports, I don't think they're amazing, but I don't think they're the three weakest teams in the meta. I think they're down at the bottom there because they're the three most pain in the backside teams to actually build and purchase, right? And you've got Hunter Clade a little bit further up, Void Dancer Troop just below the middle, okay? And then the two Space Marine teams we've already talked about. And I think it's really interesting. You know, Warp Coven are benefiting because they're really powerful, so they are powerful. We talked about the Space Marines up there because they're Space Marines, but there's definitely a cluster of teams in the bottom half that are there simply because they're difficult to buy, and I find that really interesting. It's something I've long since suspected, and it's nice to see it kind of borne out in some data. But we've also got the what I thought was really interesting was the Vespid Stingwings and the Tempestus Aquilons are really popular. They're in the top third, right, of teams people are looking up, and that's really interesting because it's easy to be in the veteran player bubble, right? Most people I know and I speak to bought Hivestorm, and the thing they're most excited about in the Hivestorm box was the terrain. You know, that's the thing they gravitate towards was terrain. Going to take some of my existing teams are going to play on that new terrain. Okay, but it's nice to see that there are people out there, maybe not people that are very vocal in the community, maybe not people that have been playing this for 3-4 years, that are genuinely starting the game and they're going to, well, I want to look at what the Vespid do and what the Aquilons do because, you know, those are the teams that I have. Right? Because I've just bought Hivestorm. I'm just boarding this kill team train for the first time. And I think that's really interesting and it's really healthy if that genuinely is new people coming into the game, picking up Hivestorm and then being like, right, what's this kill team thing? I need to find the rules. Google, great, this is website, cool. Here's a really easy way to reference my rules. I think that's really positive as well. So that's good. That's good. I like to see that. There's that sort of genuine, it's not just becoming a game of us crusty old people that have been playing it for 3 years, we're getting new people in. Talking of crusty old people though, I also think it's really interesting that Deathcore and Commandos are again in the top third, right? And I'm like, Deathcore are quite bad as far as I can tell, and Commandos are okay, but you have to play them quite different, like they're quite a cagey defensive team from what I'm hearing from people. So it's interesting that they're in the top third, and what I'm wondering is if there's a lot of people, a cohort of people, who like got on board the hype frame for the last edition of Kill Team. Maybe they bought Arctarius, maybe they bought the starter set, and they decided the game wasn't for them. They didn't get it, they didn't gel with it in some way. So then they're like, yeah, this is not for me. But now a new edition's come out, and the rules are all, like, for the teams are all online, all available. So they're thinking, well, I'll have a look. I'll dust off my Vestguard or my Commandos, and I'll see what this game's all about. I think that's really interesting as well, because when you think about it, these have to be the two most common teams in terms of the miniatures like out there in the world, just because they were in the launch box that was really popular. Like there are, for every game Games Workshop do, there are people that buy the launch box and then never actually do anything else with the game and never buy a follow-on product, right? Like I remember when Horus Heresy came out, Zimbad, despite having basically no interest in playing the Horus Heresy, he did buy the Horus Heresy big box, right? Just because it was there and it was marketed to him, and he was like, yeah, I like Marines, whatever. I think there's a lot of people who will buy these big launch boxes just because they get swept up in the hype, and then they actually decide the game's not particularly for them, right? So it's nice to see some of those people potentially giving Kill Team more thought, right? Going, well, this is the team I have. I don't want to rush out and buy something new, but I'd like to see if the thing that I have is any good in this new edition of the game. So I think that's really nice to see as well. So we've covered nearly everything in the top third, right? That, you know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I haven't mentioned the Corsair Void Scarred at number 11, but Corsair Void Scarred are very widely reported to be powerful. You know, they got good access to two AP2 weapons, right? But there's one team that sticks out in the top third as being like, oh, why are they popular? I can't come up with a narrative like I have for all the other bits of data. I can't come up with a narrative. So why Hieratech there? And it's interesting because Necrons, I suppose they were in a starter set for 40k like a starter set ago, right? But to play them in Kill Team, you need the quite specific extra sprue with some extra guys. The Reeboks team isn't actually out yet, so you can't right this minute. In the dying days of October, you can't actually buy a Hieratech Circle box if you want to. No one that I have seen or spoken to is really talking up Hieratech as being a particularly powerful team or a particularly good team. I mean, no one's saying they're trash either. I've not detected much Hieratech chatter, right? I don't get the impression Necrons are really popular, are they? From an IP perspective, are people going like I think Necrons are cool. My first 40k army was Metal 2nd Edition Necrons, right? But they're not Space Marines or Orcs or Chaos or they're not one of the strongest parts of the IP. My guess, and it's a total guess, is that people have heard elites are good, and they're like, well, Necrons are kind of elite. I wonder if Necrons are good, and they're kind of looking at the rules and going, can I have... It's that thing I was telling you about before. If people are being told, you're probably not going to have that much fun at a tournament right now because the game is on fire, so unless you bring Marines, and then if you just play Marines versus Marines, you'll have a grand old time. I'm paraphrasing Glass Half Dead, but he basically has said that, like, oh yeah, an all-Marine tournament will be great fun, but don't, like... Maybe people are going, well, I don't like Marines, but then maybe... Are these guys good enough to dance with the Marines and win, but render me a fun time? I don't know. It's an interesting one. Shiny Metal Men. If you think you know why Hieratech Circle, if you want to say, no, Phil, they're really powerful now. I know I've heard that they can take, like, the snipers can be pretty good and stuff, but yeah. That's it. It's a bit of a short one today, a bit of a different one. I was given this data by Albert, and obviously it has an expiry date, right? It will change over time, so it was one of those things where I either do this video or I just sort of don't do it, and the data goes off like yesterday's jam. No, jam lasts a long time. Random IT crowd reference that just crept into the slides there. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the video. If you'd like more of this presented, like, we could, like, I was speaking to Howard about it, he's willing to share the data more often, willing for me to do videos about it more often, so we could do this again in, I don't know, I think probably when the next box comes out. It sounds good to me. Do check out Kill Team Battle Kit, because obviously I'm just a guy that's waffling. The actual work really has come from there. I'm just presenting the data because I think it's really interesting, and because the guy that created the data said, yeah, you can make a video on this, I don't care. Cool. Did you spot any interesting trends in the data that I didn't mention? Let us all know in the comments. I love, like, looking at data sets and trying to, like, think about, like, what could the narrative be for this data. I just find that kind of interesting. If I was clever, I'd use this data to guide my kill team rundowns, right? I'd be like, okay, well, commandos are popular, so I'm going to do a commandos rundown. I don't think I will. I think I'll just continue to do whatever random thing pops into my head. But, you know, it did occur to me that if I wanted to be really good at YouTube, I could use the data to actually, like, make content people want rather than make the content that I feel I'm making at any given moment in time. But, you know. I do want to say that despite my alarming lack of professionalism, I want to thank all the people who continue to support me, especially by being members of the channel and actually giving me a genuine financial contribution every single month. It's very much appreciated. But also just to all those people that subscribe. We've surpassed 2k subscribers now, which is amazing. All the people that leave comments every single video and that pop into the Discord and do all these things. Thank you for that. That's really helpful as well. Alright guys, well, a little bit of a shorter video today, but I hope you're keeping well. And I will probably be back again tomorrow with something else, possibly a Kill Team deep dive, who knows. But yeah, see you then. Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye.